Hello, I'm E.J. J. Jafari, Richmond's next clerk of the circuit court, and I've come again this evening to have a conversation with you, the voting public, directly, opting this route as opposed to interviews and that type of thing. I needed to clarify a couple of questions that have been put out and really some misinformation that has been put out by the incumbent. So kind of bear along with me here as I kind of backtrack and update you with a number of things that have taken place in the campaign and on the campaign trail. On Tuesday last week, I think it was the 25th, the NAACP invited all of the candidates that were participating in local elections to come out and to attend a forum, and this was held at Club 533. A couple of things have occurred, one of which required that I contact the State Board of Elections, and the other required that I contact the Office of the Richmond Prosecuting Attorney. First event involved tampering with my son. James, I think his name James Minor, attended the event down at 533 Club, and when I arrived, I was the only candidate there who had brought a sign. And so what I did, I put my sign out, and I put it in such a way so that those approaching the gate, if you're familiar with 533 Club, and they have the meetings for the public, that they allow the public to use the front entrance, you have to basically come, everybody has to come through one gate. And so what I did was I put my sign facing, so people coming through the gate could read what was on the sign as they entered into the building. Now, I put the sign there and I left, but on the way back to the parking lot, to my wife in the car, I noticed that August Moon was pulling up in the parking lot. And so August was trying to maneuver his limo, and he was trying to get it parked. And so I stayed around to help him. And once he got righted, he proceeded to the rear lot in 533, and I proceeded back there because I was going to help him into the building. And so when I got to the back, I noticed that Mr. Minor was lingering around my sign. Now, I thought he saw me. He looked right down to walk at me. Thought he saw me. So as I kept watching him, you know, I was looking at him, but then I was trying to direct him as to where to park so that he could park the car properly. And when I looked back up, Mr. Minor was tampering with my sign. Now, I don't know what he was doing with the sign. I couldn't see, you know, I saw him touch the sign, move, and move it, but what he did with it, I couldn't tell. So what I did, since I'd already seen him, I just waited around and finished what I was doing to help August. And then I just, you know, walked with August, helped him on up to the building. And as I got up to the gate where I had placed my sign a little earlier, I noticed that Mr. Minor had taken my sign and turned it around so that the reading on the sign could not be read or observed by anybody who was approaching or walking through the gate. And so I continued to help August. Everything was still calm, everything's cool. But as I approached the gate, I'm wondering, you know, how is this an attempt to intimidate me? Because obviously he knew I was there. Is he trying to intimidate my wife? And all of these things have to run through your mind when you run into this kind of hooliganism, wherein people who are already incumbents and who feel connected and empowered think that because I'm not the politician that they are or haven't risen to the level they are, that they can simply just tamper with your signs, move them, and do what they will with them. And so as I approached the door, I looked him in his eyes and I tell him, you know, don't tamper with my signs. And he didn't have any reply, and he just kind of looked cheaply and looked at the ground. And so I and August and my wife, we proceeded on inside of Club 533. So as the evening wore on, Mr. Minor got up and he exited, and he came back in with the incumbent, Mr. Dean, along with another individual who apparently was in Mr. Dean's entourage or his security or something. But in any event, they sat down, and after a while, clerks candidates got underway in terms of talking and, you know, responding to questions. I was particularly concerned. You know, here's an incumbent who's been in office, been in that office for 32 years. He's been in charge of that office for 16 years. And yet he could say nothing about anything that he's accomplished in 32 years of being in that office. Everything he did was aimed at attacking me, and attacking me in a personal way, and attacking me for rights really that are guaranteed me by the Constitution and laws, not just of the Commonwealth of Virginia, but of the United States of America. This isn't odd to me, because from my dealings and workings with that clerk who's down there, he kind of sees himself as a protector of the wealthy. He sees himself as some type of tort reform czar, whose job he feels is to limit access by ordinary people, informal paupers, those who are indigents, and those who are like myself for the last 30 years have gone to court pro se. One of the things that he stood up and said, he basically said that Mr. Jafari has filed many frivolous lawsuits. And he also stated that Mr. Jafari has never won any of them. Well, there's absolutely nothing in any record in the circuit court down there which even remotely supports what he's saying. Furthermore, there's a Virginia law against basically mining, pilfering, or otherwise searching public records for your own good. Now, the real question that we have here is whether or not the incumbent clerk, Mr. Dean, would have known anything about what he said but for his access to the computerized systems and electronic storage data in the clerk's office. I submit that he wouldn't. Even though civil actions are of public nature, you know, I'm a private citizen, so there's no need to know by anybody. Nobody's going to go down to the court looking for my information. It's only because Mr. Dean is the clerk and he feels that those systems and that office down there are his, that he can peruse them and go through them and find out every little bit about you. And then he can use it, basically in this instance as he did, to defame me, but not just to defame me, but to the very best degree that he could to assure that he sent the message to the public that I was unfit because I had pursued rights or petitioned the court to redress. That's my right to do. Never mind what he said was untrue about me. That is my right to do. Now, we may believe a certain way, and we may strongly feel that it's our place to say something. But in this particular instance, this is even a greater wrong because Mr. Dean knew he was being less than genuine with those in attendance that night because he knows that I've been into many offices, filed many other applications, had many more associations with applications and processes and procedures of their court than simply petition the court for redress in what was perceived or otherwise thought to be a tortious wrong against me. Again, that's my right to do. And again, I point out to you that there's absolutely nothing in any record that Mr. Dean has seen down there that suggests that there has been any frivolous anything. That kind of thing concerns me. Part and parcel to my campaign has been the assertion that when individuals get in office for 30 plus years, they're in the same office for 30 plus years, like as in the case of the incumbent, they see it as theirs. And they fight like it. They fight tooth and nail. They don't care what they say or how they say it. They don't care if they insult you. They don't care if they tell the truth about anything. Even though Mr. Dean knew that I have familiarity and have accessed to many other procedures and applications in that court, he chose to direct the attention of the public to quote-unquote lawsuits that I filed. Even though it's my right to file lawsuits if I so choose, and even though he knew in his heart of hearts that I've accessed many other departments down there and that I've had many other associations and involvements than just filing lawsuits.